she felt again that it was a massaging
okay.
nature, and that she felt that had went on for too long, and that you hadn't explained it to her prior to you doing it, so it was unexpected to her that she didn't know that was coming. And then when you were doing it, that she felt like it was not.
Was I talking to her during the time, though, like I normally
So
do?
she says, yes, again, that how does this feel? Does this feel better?
Right.
And she says that initially she says, yes, it does feel better. So you continue.
Right.
And then she says that at some point that she says that she felt that it was hurting. So she says, hey, that hurts. Can you stop? And then you said you stopped at that time again.
Okay. That's what I'm saying. It's an interaction, and I don't know how to say this, but that would be appropriate. It's like, you're working on them, and you're trying to trying to do the work. You need that feedback from the patient, and I'm getting the feedback, and I'm responsive to the feedback, and I'm talking my way through it, as she said I was. You know what I mean? And so, I might have, I haven't been on the records, but that was my second, third, I don't know, I had seen her before, I know that.
Okay.
So that it might be in the note from before that I explained to her. Okay, so if you check the notes, okay, and see, you know what I mean, if there is check the notes and see, you know what I mean, if it's, well, maybe, because sometimes I'll do that, if it's a repeat patient, I don't explain it all over again. Because I explained it the first time. You know what I mean? So that's what I'm saying.
So had you done this type of...
I don't know if I did it on her the first time or not. Okay. What I'm saying is that if that was in my treatment plan, you know what I mean? Like, okay, this is what we're going to do when you come in, this is the process or whatever. I might have explained it to her the first visit. Now make the appointment and come in, you know what I mean, and we'll do the work the second time. So it might have been like, the first time's an initial eval, I might like, okay, this is where I probably will go with this, and I would have explained things in the first visit about what we're going to do the next visit, okay? So that's when it's a follow-up. I usually don't explain as much because I think I explained a lot, and I just get to work and I talk through it. So that would be part of the documented medical record. Okay.
How, your office, how would she go about signing release to get those medical records to turn over to me, or how would that, is that how you get your normal procedures over there?
Yeah, it's the release because of HIPAA.
Yeah, right. Obviously, I would need a search warrant for that stuff. So,
if she
were
just
to
get copies of the records,
Okay.
Yeah, and so, and then because I don't want to be on there, you know what I mean? So, whatever's there is there. Okay, so whatever. Okay, so that's what I'm saying is that it would have been if I explain stuff. A lot of times I'll explain it in the first visit. Okay, but from now on, I'll tell you what, this whole thing is getting changed because I cannot have anyone leave feeling that way again. You know what I mean? That's the bottom line. You know what I mean? So
which is why you're here today, obviously.
Exactly, because there's no way. So, I mean, lots of things have to change to protect myself from having that, happen again. You know what I mean? And also the patient from feeling that way. But it's like, okay, what can we do? Da-da-da-da-da-da. So it's like I've already been talking with Dr. Kovan and Dr. Dietzel, we need to do this, we need to do that. We're talking about policy changes, you know what I mean? So that, because we all go in the rooms by ourselves. My wife is at the Alliance, you know what I mean? She gets sometimes her exam done with just the doctor in the room.
So that can be one of my questions, because she had said that there was a resident in the room for
usually
a fair
residents
amount.
Or medical students, or that or a fellow. There's a bunch of people that rotate through.
Okay, and so then does the resident, and again, just because I don't know your guys' procedure, does the resident normally stay in the room the whole time, or they come and go?
It depends on when the next, because they usually go in first. You know what I mean? So I don't know if that resident went in first on that. It's been a while, but the resident will usually start, report, or it depends on where we are. Like if I go in the room with the resident, then I'll go through stuff, and then if the next patient comes, I send the resident to the next patient, because that's part of it. They have to do an eval and then report to you what they saw and all that stuff. So then if I will be in the room either the resident goes in first, and I join the resident, and then we work, and then the resident, if the next patient comes, the resident can go to the next room, so that we keep the traffic flow going. So
okay.
that would be the process of normal routine. It would be because I only have 2 rooms, and if I hear the patient gets put in the room next to us, I'm like, go check if the patient's ready, go start seeing the patient, and it depends on where that resident is, because the residents learn. I teach some of the residents, if they're DOs that do manual medicine, some of these techniques, like put your hand here, do that, you know what I mean? And then I say, okay, go to the next room. If you're ready, you can, so it's like see one, do one, teach one type deal. You know? So, it depends on which resident it is, as to where they are in the rotation and training. But yeah, the resident could have actually done some of this.
So do you remember in the specific incident, like when the resident left, or was it in there?
I don't remember, but if there was a resident, that would be and Dr. Kovan actually, not just said that, Dr. Kovan did bring up that the resident left, that there was a resident, the resident left the room. Okay, so if the resident left the room, it was to go see another patient.
Okay.
Okay, but that would have been the only reason why the resident would have left the room, was to let a new patient come in. So that's again, that would make sense because that's what I always do. That's a standard procedure.
Okay, so obviously that's one of her concerns too, is that, she felt comfortable while the resident was in there, because obviously there's 2 people in there. The resident was a female at the time. And then she said that when this occurred, the resident was no longer in the room, and she didn't know, obviously, what the intention of that was, because then that's when these manipulations were taking place.
Yeah, so it depends on when that resident was in their rotation. Okay, so that's what I'm saying, is a lot of times I will, if they're DOs and they've got a manual medicine hint, they'll actually, or tint, whatever, desire, they'll learn this stuff.
Okay.
Like, put your hand here, do this, you know what I mean? And I don't know if that resident was one of those, because if it's an MD resident, they don't have a...
Do you know who the resident was for that one? Do you have a specific resident assigned to you, or residents assigned to you?
We have residents, no, they rotate through on, it could have been a medical student. I don't even know if it's a resident, what I mean?
Okay.
It could have been a medical student.
All right.
Okay, so, but that's normal for a lot of us, like they go in and see a patient, so they're in the room by themselves with the patients. That's just
okay.
what it is.
Would Dr. Colvin, or do you know who would have that information as to which resident was with you that day?
Vicki Curley, our office manager,
okay,
would be able to figure that out, I think. You know what I mean? Because there should be a rotation graph or whatever.
Okay.
So Vicki Curley, our office manager, would know that, so do you want me to try and get that information to you?
I can call, just because obviously I'm going to want to talk to the
residents or whatever.
Yeah, right. Because obviously they were in a room, it sounds like, for almost, I'll even go as far as like 3/4 of the examination time.
Right.
So I obviously want to talk to that resident to find out, hey, what did you observe during the 3/4 of the time that you're in the room? When did you leave the room?
Right.
And how did you come about leaving the room? Things like that.
Right. I would have been to have seen another patient.
Okay.
So unless it was the end of the day and they had to leave, but that's rare.
Okay.
It would have been to see the next patient.
Okay. And so then you were trying to schedule a follow-up appointment with her.
Normally I say when I do this, it's like, okay, if they respond well, I'm like, okay, we'll do once a week for like 3 weeks, and then it's like once a week for 3 weeks, and then then usually I tell people you're like 80 to 90% better, we'll spread it out, we'll put an appointment out there for a month after that or whatever, to see if you can hold the treatment, you know what I mean? But it's usually like initial appointment and once a week for 3 weeks if this stuff works, you know what I mean? So the manipulations. And so if it hadn't, if there was no benefit from the treatment, she would have been off. I wouldn't have even had, we're like, okay, you didn't benefit from it, I'm not going to do it again, type deal. Because you see the effect, you know what I mean? It's like, and obviously she must have, like she said, at first it was feeling better, you know what I mean? But then she's, processed it, like, wait a second, okay, so then obviously she felt violated, you know what I mean? But the feedback that I was getting was, okay, she's getting better, that's the way that I was, the communication, reciprocation, that's what I was feeling, okay? So that's the confusion, I guess, that I'm having, is where did I not sense any bodily changes you know, because obviously she said, okay, you know, that's good or whatever, and I was done, you know what I mean? So there was no other mannerisms there's no other mannerisms I can figure out how I would know that she felt uncomfortable, okay? That's what I'm getting at is why, that's why I'm having like, okay, when did I see that patient? What did I do? What clues, what am I missing here? Okay, because this is a normal process for me, okay? That's why I'm like, why this person, why that time, what the heck happened, okay? And so that's, and
Right.
you know, it's like, you want to talk about a nightmare, you know?
Yeah.
Okay, but so it is what it is, but that's why I'm like, I had no ill intent. I had no reason to. I had no, it's other than.
All for medical reasons.
Well, of course, you know what I mean? That's what I'm saying. It's like, this is my me. I don't know, you know, it's like, and so I don't know what created me to have a bad day that day that created this out of all the times that I've done this. It's like, what the heck, you know, so I don't know. I don't know.
Obviously, like you said, you're not picking up anything from her body that you're thinking, hey, she's really uncomfortable.
Yeah, I mean, you would get that, and you would get that tensing, you know what I mean? You get that.
So do you remember her, and I obviously gave you the information for both times when she said, hey, you know, I don't need you to work on my shoulder anymore. You're saying you don't remember her saying that as far as that
I
goes?
can't remember all I'm doing is generalizations. Like, I know that if I was treating her in that way, this is what I must have been doing. You know what I mean? Because that's standard. That's normal. Okay. So, you know, to remember, how can I honestly say that I can remember the details of every part of it? That's not, like, you know, that's not.
Yeah, and I'm asking just because obviously the details are helpful if you do remember them.
Right.
And then as far as when you were down, you know, by her vagina, is that something that you remember as far as her saying, you know, that hurts or stop or anything like that?
No, I don't. I'm honest, I don't. You know what I mean? But if she said stop or hurts, I would have stopped and changed.
Okay.
You know what I mean? That would have been what I should do. So if she said that, that should have been my response. Okay, so that's hopefully what I did. You know what I mean? So I hope I stopped or made it so it didn't hurt or whatever. So, but it's clear. I mean, it is clear in my mind that obviously I was doing those techniques and trying to explain to her as I'm going through it. And you know, so I'm like, well, obviously, you know, there's going to be a disconnect that occurred, and how come I wasn't aware of that disconnect? That's going to be my big issue that I have to wrestle with, is why didn't I understand that at that time I had a patient feeling that way? Okay, that's my biggest, you know, that's my big issue that I got it, because that's from in here. It's like, what wake up, you know what I mean? Like, why? That's going to be that'll never leave me. Okay, that's my self-torture, I guess you could say. That, yes, she was victimized. Yes, I was victimized to myself. Okay, because hurting someone like that ain't right. Okay, it's not right. Okay, and that's what I'm saying. That's why that hurts me to hurt her, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I'm following you. Yeah.
So, anyways, that's what I'm going to have to live with. That's plain and simple. Okay, and that's why I keep rolling in my head. So I need other safeguards, because if I can't find out why, I got to have other safeguards built in that is other than my own use of force, Luke. Okay, because I need to have some other, and so it's got to change, because it's done. All these years of work is done. Flush it. You know, it's done, because I cannot do that to another person, and I cannot live through that for myself too. You know, so it's like, okay, you know, total rework, what are we going to do? You know, so, but it's got to change. It has to.
Right. Which is true, because like you said, I mean, we need to make sure that everyone's covered.
Yeah, well,
right?
You're thinking like, I'm sorry,
Yeah.
you're thinking like a police officer. I'm thinking like I don't want coverage.
I am a police officer,
I know,
right?
I know.
Yeah.
I'm thinking, no, it's not about coverage. It's about morals and ethics and how people feel.
Right, which is your doctor speak.
No, that's...
Right, we're on the same page.
Okay.
We're on the same page.
Yeah.
So for those other videos, did those show more in detail? I know you said they're graphic, but are they showing like the exact hand placement and where they're at?
And I'm talking about the between the vaginal and the rectal area.
Okay.
And I'm working up toward the rib cage now, but I don't have any videos of the techniques for the rib cage, other than the lectures that I have.
Okay.
Okay. And that's, because that's like a, I don't know how to say it, that's nothing. I don't know, that's like, that's so common that's a normal,
okay.
You know what I mean, where you're, yeah, you know what I mean, that's, you can open up any textbook and see that stuff, okay, so that's I'm like, I don't know, I don't have any videos of that.
No, that's fine, even if you send me like the few pictures that you showed me, that would be more than sufficient, because obviously we can see the hand placement.
But I'm reversed, okay, I would have been at her head. And that's why I'm like, if it was shoulder stuff, I would have had her on her side, too. Okay?
Yeah, that's what she said.
So I would have had her on her side. And then I'm compressing, because when you do the fascial releases, you can do it sitting, okay? But I like to lay them either down or on their side, okay? And then you can compress better front to back. Okay, and then I've got control of their arm, so I can compress if you're on the fourth rib, fifth rib, third rib, because the scapular thoracic dynamics of the way your shoulder moves, the scapula has to move, and that's why rowers get so many rib problems, because of the using the serratus and the scapula. And so when you want to release the rib cage, then you compress from the costo-sternal to costo-vertebral compression. Okay, and then you can use the scapula, get it out of the way. But if I'm working rib 4 or rib 5, rib 3, that's breast. You know what I mean? That's breast, and that's breast. But it's compression, it's, and so if she said I was massaging, it would have been like, does that feel better there? Does that feel better there? Take a deep breath, how's, that type of thing. So take a deep breath, move your arm up. I would have been, she would have been laying on her back, and I would have like turned her head, and done, like one hand would have been here pushing down, like this. Sometimes I'm here between the breasts, you know what I mean? But so sometimes you're cross patterning, okay? So that you're doing it from this direction, okay? So, but my hands would have been more like this as opposed to like this, okay? And then side lying, you're like this, okay? So like her head would have been like, if this is the body, that's the head, okay? So I would have been like this, okay, with my hands on, so that my thumbs. So like your thumbs connect from the costo-sternal to mid-axillary line to costo-vertebral, then you compress the rib, and as they breathe, then the rib you're able to release. It's called a release. It's releasing the rib. Okay, so if I did sideline techniques, that's my sideline techniques. Okay, if it's supine, it's supine. Okay, supine, laying on their back. Yeah. And sometimes you go from prone to supine to seated. You got all these different ways to treat them. That's why I'm like, it could have been any one of those, positions, but that's the positions I would have used for those rib techniques. And again, if she felt offended, I'm like, why didn't I sense that? And that's my burden. But anyway, so I guess.
So it seems like you obviously have, which is great, you have a very set routine that you go through with every patient. Is there any reason you can think of why you wouldn't have walked her through the steps as to what was coming up next or what you're going to do?
Other than if I thought I had explained it to her at the visit before, because this was a follow-up visit. Okay, that would have been the only reason why. Would have been if I thought I had explained things to her at the visit before. Okay. Instead of having to, so that's why then I'm just going through it because I've already explained what I'm going to do. You know what I mean? So does that make any sense?
Yeah. So she had said that she. I don't know if you recall that at all or no, but that.
I don't.
Yeah, so she had said it showed, like, in one of the videos you showed me, it looks like there was some butt palpitations.
Right.
So that's what she was in there for before, was that. And she says she remembers leaving and telling, like, people on her cheer team that. And they kind of talked about that.
Right.
So that's when she was in there. So.
But she was there before.
On a different occasion?
I think the time before, or was that the only time? I can't remember unless they pull it up. But I thought that was a follow-up.
One other time?
Yeah.
Do you know if she had been in there recently as far as the follow-up would go?
Wasn't that the second time? I can't remember. I don't know if that was the...
So...
Was that the second time of recently? You know what I mean? Like I saw her once and she came back? Or no? So I have no recollection of her as when in high school.
Yeah, right. So that's obviously going a few years back. So, she's not alleging that she didn't think anything inappropriate happened,
before,
in her previous visit. Right. And she said that it sounds like she had some other issues that she needed physical therapy for and stuff. So she's not alleging anything inappropriate. It just stuck out in her head that she thought, hey, he was kind of like poking at my butt.
Right.
Right. And then, and that's when.
Yeah, you guys definitely need the records then. You know what I mean?
Okay.
Because that stuff would be documented in
okay.
there. Okay. And if because maybe that's what I'm thinking is was that a second visit or a first visit? I can't. I purposely have not. I didn't want to. You know what I mean? So it's like just let it be.
And then, so after your appointments, like, are your notes pretty detailed? So, like, from this visit that we're talking about,
it should say like OMM with ME and MFR and strain counter strain to the cervicothoracic rib cage, and then my notes are usually pretty good.
Okay.
Okay, my notes are usually pretty good. So myofascial release. Strain counter strain, that's this positioning stuff too.
Okay.
Okay, so that's HVLA is cracking the back. Okay, so if you see HVLA in the note, that's high velocity, low amplitude. Okay, so HVLA is like a cracking.
Okay.
ME is muscle energy.
All right, hang on.
Sorry, yeah. HVLA
Yep.
is cracking the back. That's high velocity, low amplitude.
Okay.
ME is muscle energy. That's where again, it's like working with the patient. Okay, push here.
Okay.
Strain, counter strain is you put them in a position where, okay, does that hurt now? No. Okay, now just breathe. You try and put them in a position where it doesn't hurt. And I always say myofascial release you combine with the strain, counter strain so that as they're breathing, you're releasing, you're following it, you're moving further because you're getting a release. So as they breathe and as if I'm here to start, I'm going to get more release. So you go farther and farther. Okay, I restored length. I've gotten down to another rib. You're following the pattern. Okay, so it's like I've been called the body whisperer. It's like you feel it. And most of the time my eyes are closed. Okay, because I'm doing like I'm doing right now. Like I'm feeling it. And that people say I do that when I lecture too. I close my eyes.
Well, you've done it here. I've noticed, right? Yeah.
I'm just saying that's the way because it's use the force. It's like you feel it, and that's what when I did cranial. Okay, cranial is where like you put your hands on the head. Okay, and you're trying to feel the cranial bones move. Go figure. Okay, and when I was a student, I took. Dr. Greenman, who was the guy who, like I said, wrote the book, 20-hour course, couldn't feel it. Dr. Mitchell, Fred Mitchell, whose father invented muscle energy. These are like the gods of manual medicine. Heads of rock, I still couldn't feel it. Viola Fryman comes in so that was 60 hours, and I still couldn't feel it, okay? And so Viola Fryman comes in from California. She's like 70, 75, and she was an older lady, and she was older than the other two, so she was old. And I finally felt it, and it's because the way that she described it to me, to the class, was that it's a triangle. It's you, the patient, and the spirit above, and it's this triangle pattern. And you have to get into that so that, because you don't want the bad stuff to come back into you, because then you get all bad. You got to be able to pass it through. It's this conceptual thing, you know what I mean? So that you're trying to get into, like she was talking about how you can actually unwind them. Like if they were in a car accident, as you're going through this, you actually get them in the positions that they went through, and as you unwind them, the pain goes away. It's esoteric, it seems strange, but it's bizarre that, that's medical, okay? I mean, like, and literally, you know, I'll go through gyrations with them because I'm actually unwinding them of what pattern built it in. So if they got built in that pattern, if you do a Rubik's Cube, you unwind it the right way, and you solve it in less than a minute, okay? So if you feel the tissues, okay, that was brought down here, then there, and all of a sudden they can release. Like the video showed that girl with the leg thing, you know what I mean? I did the releases, her range of motion doubles. You know what I mean? I can test that stuff beforehand, like I was showing with the girl sitting. I put my hand on her bum, you know, pain goes away, no, pain's still there. I change my hand, pain's gone now. Okay, I know that that's then the angle or the vector that I need to do to unwind that. Okay, so it's totally, yes, if I would have gone farther, that's natural, because she's getting length and I'm unwinding it, you know, and so that's when I finally felt the cranial bones move, was when I was able to connect. It's very powerful for me, you know,
right.
You know,
I can see that.
So that's the thing is, did I somehow, I obviously must have, to her, reached the line where I was feeling connected, like, you know what I mean? Did I get into it too much? You know, like, did I feel like, oh, you know, there it goes, you know what I mean? And you just ride the body rhythms. It's hard to describe, but it's what osteopathic myofascial release is about, okay? And it's unwinding, okay? You can write that. I don't use that word, but that's a medical term for myofascial. It's unwinding. You unwind them, and it's the release of the fascia. You know, it works. You know, I don't know how else to say it. Do you have a rib problem? I can show you.
Right. Not currently.
No, you know, but
I'm sure at some point the older I get here, I'm going to start feeling my aches and pains, right? So, I mean, that's why you're here.
Right.
You're here because it's under investigation, okay?
Right.
We want to talk to you. We want to find out what you have to say about it.
Right.
And like I said, I mean, I'm just going to go through this. I'm pretty sure I've covered everything with you that I want to cover. I just want to make sure I haven't missed anything that she said, because, you know, I'm not going to hide anything from you. I'm not going to keep any secrets.
It's
right, obviously it's your whole profession. And it's about who you are.
It's not even the profession. It's who, me. You know what I mean? Like, there's such an important trust, and to feel that I violated that with someone, that the sexual stuff, for, you know, it's the trust. That's the hard part for me. Okay, because that's the whole thing. Sorry.
No, you're okay.
To break someone's trust, that irritates me. Okay, sorry.
No, you're fine.
You can't. What I always tell people is, you can't get that back. You know what I mean? That's the way it is. You know what I mean? It's like, okay, you know, it's done, and that's me. I just, I don't know. You honor that. You respect that. That is the vital thing. Okay, and somehow or other that hurts. That hurts. You know, I don't know. Okay, but I'm sorry.
No, you're perfectly fine. I'm sure if I put myself in your shoes, I mean, it's weighing pretty heavy on you all the way around for a multitude of reasons.
Right.
So there's a couple things that I want to do here. Obviously, I want to get the videos because it does illustrate what she and you are both saying happened, right?
Okay.
There are only a few minor places where you guys kind of split the road there. Everything you're telling me is everything she told me. So it's not like she's telling me anything else, okay? So what you're saying that you would have done is what she's saying you did.
Okay.
Again, what we're looking at is maybe perceptions, misperceptions, that she felt that she didn't know what was coming or what was going to be done for explanation purposes. And again, this is what, you know, she's saying.
Right, I totally understand.
But what she's saying happened is exactly what you're saying happened.
Yeah, because I talk to my patients all the time. That's why you can see the videos. I have a whole website of education. You know, I mean, it's Gymnastics Doctor Facebook, Gymnastics Doctor YouTube, GymnasticsDoctor.com. It's all about education. It's all my company's Gymnastics Doctor, the sports medicine professor. You know what I mean? It's like that's what I'm known for. You know what I mean? As a physician, I've been the National Contributor of the Year for the sport of gymnastics 5 times. Not even a coach has been Contributor of the Year 5 times.
Right. I didn't know who you were, so I started looking you up, obviously, to see who you were and what you're about. So.
But when you have that, do you understand the trust that people have to have on you to that's what hurts, because that's sacred to me. You know, that's sacred.
And so with you saying that, so I think that's part of why she is so upset, right? Because she puts that trust in your hands, right?
And that's I'm like, how did that trust get, that's what hurts, is how did I violate that trust? You know what I mean? And that's, what did I say wrong? What did I do wrong? Why did I breach it? Because, you know, was I trying to get into her space, like talking to her about her social life, her family life? Because I do that a lot, you know what I mean?
I'd say that's, I'm not going to say it's irrelevant, because obviously she was a little concerned about the like on the Instagram picture. So I don't want to say it's irrelevant.
So she did say that. So that's weird, because you know, that was, you know what I mean? Like, you know, I mean, they're all, it's, you can, I don't know if you can pull my Instagram records. I have like 1,000 pictures. I just go through and, you know, like, you know, so, you know, because that's what I see with Instagram and Facebook and stuff, is there's a lot of injury stuff, you know what I mean? And that's what, okay, who's wearing the boot, anyways, it's a total different process for me, okay? So, it's not, it wasn't even her. You know, I don't even know if she was in the picture. You know, to me, like an Instagram picture. That's why I keep going to, like, why would that set her off?
Yeah, so I would say the reason, I don't want to say it completely set her off, and I don't want to say it's irrelevant, because it is relevant. Yeah. But I think the reason why she was concerned about it is coming off of what she felt happened.
Yeah, but that tells me that, you know, anyways, I'm like, okay, I'm looking at what's behind the curtain, what other issues did I open up Pandora's box for her? You know, was she stalked before? Was she had, what other issues are there that she may have had that I infringed upon, that she has built up walls for? Whether it's, I don't want people in my space, you know what I mean? Like I don't want people in my space, whether it's physical space, mental space, you know, to get connected with, I don't know, you know, because that's what I do. That's how I try to connect, because I need to, it's just the way that I work, you know what I mean? And that's why my patients love me. I mean, that's why I like us, because I talk to them, I listen, and we share stories, and you know what I mean? And I just, I don't have to go to work, I get to go to work. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so it just rocks my world. I don't know.
So that would be really helpful if you can rack your brain a little bit,
right, sure.
To get any amount of details from this specific one, because she is saying that there was that communication there, right? So does it feel good? Does it hurt? Is it feeling better?
Right.
So the breast part, you know, she's thinking, well, your whole hand is on her breast. She felt that communication wasn't there as to why your whole hand would be on her breast.
Right.
You know, the way you're explaining to me and you're showing to me, I perfectly understand it, right? What she's saying is that there wasn't that communication there as far as what was going to come next, what was going to happen. So she's not understanding, okay, I can understand half a hand on my breast, on my shoulder, but I'm not understanding why his whole hand.
And I don't even know if my whole hand was or not, you know what I mean? But I know that if I'm on those ribs, I'm going to be around that whole breast issue. There is no question about it, you know what I mean? So, yeah, you know, but like I said, it was, to me, a pushing, a releasing. If I was doing that, it's not a caressing, a grabbing, a groping. You know what I mean? It's a releasing. It's a different form of touch. You know, and that's the part that bothers me. Is like, how did she get a different perception of the trust, the trust of the touch? You know what I mean? It's like, wait a second, you know what I mean? Because it's like, poof, there goes that lecture out the wall. It's like, because I always tell people sense a different type of touch, you know what I mean? Like, and so, that's, so I should be able to be on her breast, but have a medical on breast, okay? You see what I'm saying?
Yep, I understand.
Okay, so yeah, I was probably on her breast, okay? There would have been a reason for it, and it wouldn't have been a groping reason, and that's the part. I'm like, how did that get lost?
Right.
Okay.
So then the same thing for her vaginal area is that I think it sounds like Dr. Coban had explained to her, hey, he teaches this procedure.
Right.
His hand will be in the crotch area.
Right,
I don't know that he specifically used the word crotch, but that's the word she used.
That's fine.
Obviously, probably the doctor, he didn't use the word crotch, but that's what she's saying.
Right.
So she said that that is, a standard procedure you guys follow, that you've trained the office how to do that, you've trained other people how to do that. So what her concern was is that she did not know that your hand was going to go inside her underwear.
Right, to move the underwear out of the way.
Mm-hmm. Right, which I saw in those videos very clearly.
Right. So that's why I'm like, okay, that's where, if I didn't prep her properly, that's where I'm like, okay, then why would, I can't, all I know is that I'm talking to her through it, and if I did it, because I can't say whether I did or not, because I can't remember. I mean, it's just reality. It's like I would have explained stuff to her, okay? And so if I didn't, it was a screw up on my part for not, and I don't know why I didn't, okay, if I didn't, okay? But that's because that's SOP. It's like, just do it. You talk to the patient, you tell them what you're doing, you do it. You know what I mean? If I didn't say it, if she was, did she miss it? I don't know. Did she not understand what I was saying? Like, this is what I'm going to do, and it didn't compute to her? That's possible too. In other words, like, did I say, okay, I'm going to do this, and it didn't register to her what I was going to do? I don't know, okay? Or did I try and explain stuff the time prior, if this was a second visit? Because a lot of times I'll explain stuff the first visit and then just assume, okay, explained it the first time type of deal, okay? But the kinetic chain, I always talk about a kinetic chain, that's like I'll show it on the videos, from your ponytail to your heel, whatever. But the process of doing what I'm doing is second nature. So did I, for whatever reason, do it with thinking that I did say, what I mean? That I could say, yeah, okay, that's a possibility.
Okay.
That I thought I had said it and didn't, okay? Because when something's routine, you know what I mean? It becomes routine, okay? And so did I fuck up and not say it, okay? Well, obviously, in her opinion, yeah, okay? Or did I say it and she didn't hear it, okay? In other words, what I was saying, A, B, C, she heard D, E, F, okay? Because it's interpretation, you know what I mean? So what I thought was being said was not what she was hearing.
Yeah.
Okay? That's legit too, you know what I mean? But if it doesn't, to me, it doesn't matter. What matters is how she felt, you know what I mean? So whether so maybe legally it makes a difference, I don't know, but the bottom line is she felt violated, and that's my issue that I got to figure out why, because I explain things, I talk, I'm constantly in communication with my patients, and it obviously wasn't in a way that it affected her, okay? It obviously wasn't in a way that she understood, okay?
Right.
So however it was that I explained to her, it didn't compute to her, okay? And that's an issue. That's why I'm saying that everything has to change, because I need more safeguards. If it has become too routine for me that I can start making mistakes by being too routine. That's an issue. That's where I got to, okay, what else can I do then? It's like throw some cold water on me. Wake up, Larry. You know what I mean? You got too routine. I got too comfortable with it. You know what I mean, or something? I don't know. You know what I mean? But it's a huge wake-up call, okay? And I need to. It's my clinic will never be the same again. It's bottom line, and it's going to suck because I like being able to. So I got to figure out how I still can be a mentor. I got to still figure out how I can still to be able to connect with the patient, talk with the patients, and work through, because so much of it is mental, and you can sense that, you know what I mean, and work through that. And when I'm working on the patient, I'm also trying to establish that relationship to work through the mental part of the component of the stress too, you know. And so it would take a lot of the doctor-patient relationship, whatever, that's too cold for me. It's like, it would take a lot of the essence out of what I do. But I got tough, you know what I mean? I can't have this happen, because the drawing, to me, the absolute line is this trust line, and I can't let that be breached again. You know what I mean? That hurts. That really hurts. And that's where I'm like, okay, you know what I mean? You got to change, you know, because you can't have that happen, even if it's by accidents, of course, you know, but you don't want it to even happen by accident.
Right.
You know, so.
Because I think maybe, you know, some of this could have been avoided.
Well, I gotta have other, yeah, you know, now, like, okay, you know, hindsight 50-50 or whatever, I should have asked her better to explain. Well, yeah, that's what I keep going through. How did I not explain it to her better? How did I not, you know, a lot of that could have been avoided if I would have perceived something that she was uncomfortable, of course, you know what I mean? And also that she didn't understand what I was doing. You know, I'm like, those are two huge things. It's like, how could you not understand that she didn't understand? How could you not understand that she was feeling uncomfortable? What?
Yeah, and that is what it boils down to,
right?
There.
That's what I'm saying. That's like, what the frick? You know, I mean, like, what? You know, and but it's so, because it's like, that's not good. You know, that's bad. Okay, that's very bad, and you gotta. It's like, yeah, you know. But does that make it a legal issue, or does that make it like you said, the medical people? You know, I mean, it's like, yeah, you know, I mean, yeah. So okay, you know, I need to have better written consents. You know, like I've already drawn up a draft. If you feel that, you know, during your office visit today, a medical student, a nurse, a MA, a resident, a fellow, and a physician assistant all may be in the room with you, and all may touch you. And if at any point during that time that you feel that you don't understand what's going on, or that you feel that they're touching you inappropriately, please stop and let the person know, type deal. That's like a paragraph that I came up with, you know, like, okay, do I need to have that on every single one of my things, you know what I mean, like set to them, you know, by the MA, you know, when they get their heart blood pressure done, you know, that needs to be in there. But beyond that, it's got to be, okay, you know, if I'm doing any of these techniques now, it's expensive, it's cost prohibitive, but do I have to, like, if I don't have a rotator in with me, do I have to go get a rotator? Do I have to go get a nurse? Do I have to pull someone out? You know, I mean, and so that's there now. That's done. You know what I mean? It's like, okay, that part is guaranteed. It's like, if I'm doing these techniques, there's someone else in the room. That's done. You know what I mean? So that's like, okay, I can't skip, you know, it's a cost. You know what I mean? It's a cost thing for having someone else in the room. You know what I mean?
Right.
So, but tough. You know what I mean? It's worth the extra expense to go through what the hell I'm living right now.
So again, in law enforcement, your witness, right?
Yeah. Well, well, that's what I mean. It's like, it's basically to, you know, to double check you or whatever, you know, because, like, if I'm slipping up, then the other person at least is there to say, hey, Dr. Nassar, she looks uncomfortable. Or, hey, Dr. Nassar, you know, I don't get her, you know, but most of the time I'm, explaining to the resident what I'm doing too, you know, so or a medical student. It could have been a medical student, I don't know.
And I obviously don't have that information right now. Okay.
It could have been a fellow, you know, fellows doing a year-long rotation, so there's medical students. All right. So she wants to go into medicine, and, you know, so anyway, so she's coming in and spending a week with me to just observe and, you know, go through. So I have, you know, how high school students do that, job shadow type stuff, you know. So I have high school students in there a lot, you know, so it's what it is.
So what is Dr. Kovan, like, where is he at on this whole thing, or what has he said?
We had that conversation, you know what I mean, but that's what he said. It's like, you know, that he told her that when they had their conversation. We said, Larry does this. This is what he explains, and that it was totally medical, and and that. But he said, because you complained, we don't, because of what happened at Penn State, that's what the dean said too. Because of what happened at Penn State, we're not sitting on this stuff, And I said, I encourage it. Well, yeah, because we don't want that, And that's why I'm like, yeah, Jeff, you did the right thing. I don't feel any anguish towards him, or like I said, I voluntarily, boom, that's fine. Because I don't want any. Curtains, It's like, no, there's nothing for me to have a curtain about, okay? Because it's there, you talk to any of the other doctors and stuff, It's like. It's like I'm doing the same stuff. And that's why it's like. I'm sorry.
No, like I said, the more you talk, the better. So you don't have to apologize.
But I'm just trying to explain, I guess, I'm sure there's nothing. My hand placements are my hand placements are my hand placements are my hand placements. Whether she was 10 years old or whether she was 84 years old. I've got a singer, a jazz singer. But anyways, and it doesn't. It's the same. It's the same. And you're in their private areas. That's why it's got to be trust. And that's the sacred thing to me. Is the trust, and that's what I can't get over. That hurts, and that's what I can't get over. Okay, is that how did I violate someone's trust, and that whatever. I'm sorry, but that's. I don't want to go there again. Okay.
So, where we're at now is that. If you can send me those videos.
Right, I got the Dropbox.
Okay.
Okay. You sent me an email, you said, right? So
yeah.
Because I have to send you that link.
Just prior to calling you. So,
okay. Okay.
So check that one. You'll have an email from me.
Okay. Do you have a card just in case?
I do, yeah.
I appreciate that.
And this has my office number that I called you from.
Okay.
And then it also has my email on there.
Okay.
And if you could send those to me, that would be great.
Oh yeah, I'll send that tonight. Get some popcorn.
From what you're showing me and explaining is what she is telling me happened.
Okay.
The difficult part of reading through this, obviously, is right now it's titled as a sexual assault report.
Yeah, that hurts, but yeah.
Because that's what she's reporting, right? So right now, obviously, technically, you're the suspect in that sexual assault report. It's under investigation, though.
Okay.
So we want to find out what did happen. That's the whole purpose of a police investigation. It's not to jump to conclusions, it's not to take sides, it's to find out what specifically happened.
Right.
So in seeing what you showed me here today and what you're going to send me, the one option that may be available to us, and I need to talk to her first, is a polygraph examination.
Sure.
And a lot of people have a misnomer that they think that's a lie detector test, and it's not. It shows both. It shows whether you're being honest, and it shows whether you're being dishonest.
Okay.
It appears to me that you're telling me the truth sitting across me, unless you're a great bullshitter, and you pulled the curtains over my eyes this whole time. But in combination with what I'm seeing here today, I feel like you're telling me the truth. You're coming in here voluntarily. You're wanting to clear your name, and that's what a polygraph can be used for. Also, is to clear your name.
Whatever is needed.
So it's not the TV show calls it a. I hate TV shows. You probably hate medical TV shows, right? Just like I hate law enforcement TV shows.
Right.
3/4 of the stuff isn't true. So it can clear people also.
Right.
So if you're sitting here and you're being truthful with me today, and everything you've said is the truth today, in combination with these videos, what that would show is that you did it for medical purposes, not for any other purposes, right?
Exactly.
I've been investigating sexual assaults for the last 8 years. I have not run a polygraph like this, where it would be medical versus, say, a sexual assault.
Okay.
I would need to consult with her first to make sure that that's something we can do. So I don't want to say, hey, let's do that. I want to consult with her first to make sure that that would be a viable option for us.
Okay.
I would like that to be a viable option just because again, I hope you didn't sit across the table from me and,
Right. No,
because then that would help clear you. And again, the police investigation is to find out what happened, right?
Right.
And it's not to say that she had any ill intent for filing a report,
Right.
but when we're talking about, again, communication,
Right.
what her perception is,
Right.
and this is the way she's feeling,
Right.
which is what resulted in this report, right?
Right.
So that can help on our end, from the police end, help clear up.
Right.
And right now there is just some real fine delineation between the two of you.
Okay.
But I need to consult with her just because, like I said, I haven't ran a polygraph like that before.
Right.
And so if that's something that you'd be willing to do, and she says that that's a viable option, then what we can do is get some dates and times.
Right.
If it is viable, then generally those run at 9 a.m. or 1 p.m. We can do it any day of the week.
Right.
And she explains everything,
Right. Would she benefit from seeing that stuff?
So she probably won't need to see that stuff. She will get a copy of my report. So
Okay.
I just met with the complainant earlier today. I haven't even had a chance to pull the complaint number, type the report. I just thought I'd try and reach out to you and see if I could talk to you today. Seems how I just talked to her. That's normally helpful. So what I'll do is I'll pull a complaint number. I will give you the complaint number so you know what that is. I've got to obviously type up the whole entire report.
Right.
I'll talk to her tomorrow to see if she thinks that that would be something that she could run a test on.
Okay.
And then that way that'll help show that, hey, you're being honest sitting across from me from the table today, in corroboration, like I said, with what I'm seeing in these videos,
Right.
that you didn't do anything criminally
I
wrong.
hope to God not, because then I've been spreading criminal. You know what I mean? I've been telling people to go commit crimes then right and left. Because like I said, it's not just Larry's world. It's around the world.
Right, which obviously I can see that from there.
Yeah, and that's what I pride myself in, is educating and talking to people, and it's just gone. You know what I mean? It's like, we call it, you get knocked off your pedestal or something like that. You think that, here I am, the person that lectures all over, here I am, the doctor of the whole thing, you know what I mean? And
Turned your world upside down.
Well, yeah, it's like, okay, reality check, one person that, and it's all gone. And it's like, so I have to reconfigure and say, I can't, my life, my wife, my kids, my work that I've built so hard on ain't worth, it's hard for me to say this, to try, because my life is about helping other people, but if this technique is going to create someone to have that issue, is it worth it for me to put my butt out on the line like that? And it from what I've been feeling, it ain't. You know what I mean? It's like, okay, Larry, you do a lot of work, like I do a lot of free work, and I just, with autism and the community, a lot of community stuff, but it's like, so, do you need to take a step back and say, okay, you need to protect yourself more. It's I don't like that thought process, but it's reality. It's sitting here. It's reality. You know what I mean? So do I need to change who I am to protect myself better? I might not like myself as much, but I'll get through it. But that's. I still want to be able to get up and say I get to go to work. You know what I mean? I don't want to have to change my work so that I have to say I have to go to work. You know what I mean? So that's going to be the hard part for me, is to figure out how to make these adjustments to, and the simple thing is, it's going to cost. The simple thing is someone else in the room. Plain and simple.
Right.
That's the simple thing. You know what I mean? And tough, just the way it is. You know what I mean? So that if it's going to cost us more money to have that in, then it's going to cost us more money. You know what I mean? Because it's going to take off from the staff. So, and that's just tough, but that's...
So did they change anything or put any measures in place? So when you first were contacted, obviously I think there was like a few weeks in between.
Yeah. So when Jeff said that, we weren't really sure if it was going anywhere or not, you know what I mean? So we started talking, I think Jeff had started talking to Vicky, our office manager, okay, we're definitely going to have to change things. We're going to, have to, have doors open or nurses or stuff, so there was some discussion about it, but not much, because of the fact that we weren't sure where it was going to, but it didn't matter. To me, it was already, what am I going to do? You know what I mean? So it was already in my ballpark, like, okay, I started leaving doors open and stuff, and I'm like, boy, it's noisy, it's hard to, it's hard to, and there's HIPAA violations with doors open too, so it's like, okay, from that day on, I personally have been adapting to try and make changes, and the only thing that I have found is, do I need to have a person in the room? That's just cost. Or do I just stop it? And just like, but it helps so many people. So I think I'm going to be more judicious as to who so that way I don't have to have someone in the room as often, because I'm spending long time. Since 30 minutes, when was the last time a doctor spent 30 minutes to 60 minutes with you?
Never.
Okay. Would you appreciate that from a doctor who's talking to you, who's, I'm telling you, it's a standard that I guess I put myself, like I said, I just got knocked off my standard, because everyone else was 15, 20 minutes, you know what I mean? And I've been able to do this and make it work, but you know what? I can be, I don't want to be like everyone else, but it's my wrestling, that's how I got to figure out how I can protect myself and not have this happen again, because I obviously cannot rely upon my sense of what the other person is feeling. You know what I mean? Because that just got blown out of the water. Okay? That's it's gone. I can't get that back. I can't say that in lectures even, the sensation of, the palpation versus all that stuff. It's gone. It just got proven wrong. You know what I mean? Right there. Bada bing.
Which is true.
So it'll never be the same. I don't know how else to say it. It'll just never be the same. So that's my wrestling match, and that's where the university is going to have to, it's not just me. It's going to open Pandora's box, because all of our docs are in the rooms by themselves. You know what I mean? And so, and at any point when you're in the room and you got another person in the room, it doesn't, you could be checking their shoulder and they could say, oh, you touched my breast, whatever, and it could be the orthopedic surgeon, and there's no one else in the room. How do you corroborate it? So it's like, okay, so it's not just me. It's like, how's this going to affect the whole thing?
Which is very true. Which will be part of the university's investigation, obviously, and what they look at, like you said, from the whole university picture.
Right.
So that is what Christine Moore from the Office for Inclusion, she'll be in contact with you from their office.
Okay.
I asked her not to contact you until I could talk to you, because I obviously, as a law enforcement agency, I like to trump the administrative investigation, so to speak. They understand that, I talk to them about that all the time, so it's nothing.
That's fine.
So what I tell them is I always like to talk to the parties involved before they do. So I will let her know that I have talked to you.
Okay.
So she would be reaching out to you. I'm not sure exactly when, but she'd be reaching out to you. Their investigation is very similar to our criminal investigation, where they would talk to any possible witnesses. They'll talk to you, obviously. They compile a report. But then in addition to that, like you said, they look at, from the university scope of things, how things should maybe be handled differently.
Right.
And so even though we worked for the university, we just handled the criminal end of things. The reason we're investigating this is because you're in the leased office that MSU has that is basically contiguous to our campus. And so that's how that gives us the jurisdiction here, as opposed to Meridian Township, where technically your building sits. So if you had any questions about that, that's why we're investigating it. What questions do you have for me?
Right now, it's like, do you know how long it will be, or what? I'm just trying to figure out what's our next step. How long am I? The waiting is tough on me, It really is, and that's why I'm like, man, I'm eager to talk, to do, So I don't know, That's
so I just got to get in contact with a couple of people and talk to them. That she's given me names of people to talk to. basically people that she's talked to.
Right.
So I need to reach out to them. I'd like to try and get the medical records, obviously, because those sound like, according to you, those would be pretty helpful.
Right.
I also don't like to have these take a long period of time.
Right.
So, it'd be my goal that hopefully that it would just be maybe a few weeks.
Okay.
And then we could have the investigation completed.
Okay.
Obviously, that would be dependent to, okay, can we do the polygraph? When can we get the polygraph scheduled?
Right.
So for your 5.5 weeks, is that kind of, how was that time frame put in place? Or how did they come up with 5.5 weeks?
That was just the dean just said.
Okay, just
Go
said,
to
hey,
June 30th,
okay, so that ended June.
And I've got a week vacation that's in there. So
So I actually leave for vacation myself that week.
Okay.
So what my goal would be, bar any unforeseen circumstances, is that we have this wrapped up before you and I go on vacation. Okay, so like I said, bar any unforeseen circumstances, I don't want to leave and go on vacation myself and still have some things to tidy up here. So I guess if that helps, that would be my time frame.
That's good. That's good.
So I have a couple people that I need to talk to. I'd like to get her medical records, talk to our polygraph examiner about pitching for a polygraph examination, so we can do that.
Sure.
And if you're available, basically her first available spot, we can get you in.
Right. Yes.
And then that would help also with the investigation.
Right.
Is there anyone that you think I should talk to, or that would be helpful to talk to? I'm going to talk to Dr. Covan, because obviously he spoke with her, he met with her.
Right.
He knows you, he knows the procedure, so I need to talk to him.
Right.
Is there anyone else that you think I should talk to?
I think Dr. Lemon, she's another one of our doctors.
Okay.
Okay. So Brooke Lemon.
Brooke?
Right, Brooke Lemon. She works with me with gymnastics and she's one of our office partners and stuff. And she knows these techniques, too, and she knows what's going on. I personally talked to her because she's like she's a colleague that, she said, Larry, I watched you for 8 years. And I said, because I was worried about you getting yourself in trouble with that. He goes, and she said, because she as a female, because she's a female, she might, that's why I'm thinking Brooke.
Okay.
Because she'd be a female doctor,
And you said, who is it that I could contact to find out who was in the room with you that day?
Vicky Curley. Okay. Right, Vicky, she's our office manager.
Is it C-U-R-L-Y?
C-U-R-L-E-Y. Vicky Curley, ends with an I.
Okay.
I think Vicky Curley, right. English is like a second language for me. I'm not very good at spelling.
So as we go along, if there is other people that you think I should talk to, or
I don't know what you like. Doctors. What do you? That's why I'm not sure what you mean.
Yeah, or basically anybody that may have information that would be relevant to this investigation. It sounds like the dean maybe just got information, kind of second, third hand, so to speak.
Right. I think it would be Dr. Dietzel, Dr. Covan, Dr. Lemon.
Okay.
That would be the appropriate thing for that. So. Destiny, she's our athletic trainer.
Okay.
Destiny Teachner Hawk. Sorry. Destiny, she works with me in the training room. Okay. She doesn't know anything about this. Okay. So she's totally.
Then I may hold off.
Yeah. She doesn't know anything about this, but she's with me in the training room. She's like my voice. Now he's gonna put his hand on here. So because I work with the athletes there, and I do the same techniques with the athletes in the training room.
Okay.
And so she's always the one that say, all right, remember he's gonna do this. So she's always over my shoulder talking to the patient. It's because I only got like 15 minutes. There, so it's always a quicker thing. And so she knows my techniques, and she talks, so she helps with the education of the patients, from that to the athletes, you could say. We do this on guys, too, in case that matters,
All right.
It's not like just on girls, There's basketball players that, with Covan and other track athletes, it doesn't, I mainly work with figure skaters and gym, but where I see the guys is mainly in the training room.
Okay.
And so, and I've got a few guys that that are in the clinic, but the vast majority are females because it's figure skating, gymnastics, and dance. That's my population, you know.
Okay.
But yeah, you know, and I've done this with guys and taped their bottoms too, you know, and all that stuff too. So it's not just unisexual. Okay, so, but anyways, that would be the coverage, I guess. You know what I mean? So. Yeah, so if I'm just trying to think of where else people have seen me, you know. So Brooke sees me with the athletes at Twist Stars at the gymnastics club, you know, and so so I'm just trying to cover, okay, training room, you know,
Right.
high school, Twist Stars, you know, type deal. So, okay, but that it is what it is. I mean, I think that should cover it. I mean, because I don't know what you're looking for. You
Yeah,
know?
no, that sounds good. And then the only thing that I would ask of you is, you know, I know you've been thinking about this a lot,
Yeah.
but as you continue to think about it, if there's no details too small, so if there's anything that you remember, and you know, you went
The only
through.
thing, like I said, the only thing that I remember is that there was that. I was hoping to, it's just me, to, okay, how can I help? You know what I mean? And that's where I'm thinking, is that where I crossed the line, was because I had intent of trying to talk to her and how can I mentor her, and you know, she's like, what do you want in your career? You know what I mean? It's like how can I be the mom? How can I, you know, like. So that's the only thing that I keep thinking of, is that was an intent that I had, was to, as a mentoring. You know, I mean, no, she didn't come here for that. You know, I mean, she came in for.
Yeah.
So I'm like, you know, so I'm like, what? I think you had said something about her shoulder's been hurting a long time. That's why I said shoulder. So, where I may have breached by doing something that was out of proportion was I purposefully was trying to get into a role of being able to mentor her. Okay, so by talking to her, you know what I mean, like building that relationship, and over 3-4 visits, you usually can develop a relationship like that where people then like, you know, gee, I want to be a doctor like you, and you know, can I rotate with you? Can I, you know what I mean? So, and so that's what I'm thinking of, was I off on that, too much of a tangent, you know, where my focus was off a bit, where I was thinking of that part and wasn't paying attention to the details of explanations. Was I distracted from that? Was, you know, that I wanted to be the shiny knight to come in and say, you know, I helped your daughter. You know what I mean? That's and so I obviously royally flushed that, you know, but that was part of what that was the agenda, that you could say that was part of it, was not just the body, it's the mental component too.
So you're thinking, if I'm hearing you correctly, that there may be a possibility that you were having conversation about other things while going through the manipulations of working on her body.
Right, and that's what that was. I know that exactly. I can't remember, okay, because it's been so long. Right, I've seen once a week, then I can remember.
Right.
You know, but I remember that as a detail of thinking back. You know, that was an issue. So when I see an issue, I would have normally tried to mentor on that issue. Okay, so that's, again, it's nothing, I'm not singling her out. It's like, when I see an issue, I want to become a mentor, I want to be able to help the person from that standpoint too. Okay?
Right.
And so that's just, okay. So I don't know, that would be the details.
Yeah, and again, you know, sometimes as you're, and I'm sure you've thought about it a lot, but as you continue to think about it, if there's anything that comes up, don't hesitate to get back in contact with me and let me know. What I will do, though, I will talk with our polygraph examiner tomorrow.
Okay.
So I'll be able to follow back up with you tomorrow.
Okay.
Unless she's off. I don't think she's off.
Would I have to
So we probably wouldn't do it tomorrow, so you don't have to worry about that. Continue on with your plans.
Okay.
What I will do, I will talk with her tomorrow if she's not off. I'm pretty sure she's here to see if it's something she thinks that we can do, because I will defer to her expertise.
Okay.
As far as whether she thinks that this is something that we can test on.
Okay.
And then what we would do is that I would give you a selection of dates and times that she has available, and then you can pick whatever date and time you want. Right, which would be good, right? We'll get you in here, get taken care of. And like I said, she runs those at 9 a.m. or 1 p.m. They're generally a few hours long. The reason for that is, again, from whatever you've seen on TV, that stuff's not true. The test is a very small portion of the polygraph examination. So what happens is she has to do very much like you have to do. She has to get to know you a little bit before she runs the test. Because you're only tested, obviously, against yourself, right? So basically, she has to see what your baseline levels are. Like, she will make you lie. Hey, what number do I have up here? You lie to it so she can see how you spike when you lie. And I'm using layman's terms. She will explain it to you in technical terms. So basically what happens is that she has you lie to something completely unrelated to this. She'll write a number up here and say, did you pick this number? She has you lie to that, so that way she says, okay, here's what your charts look like when you lie. She goes through the exact question she's going to ask you, so there's no surprises. You know exactly what questions she's going to test you on. There's 3 questions that would be relevant to this investigation. And what those questions would be for, or what I'm hoping she'll be able to test for, is, again, what we're looking at is medical touching for sexual assault touching, right? So she would form like 3 questions after talking with you, because she needs to get to know you and find out, hey, what makes you tick? What do you think is awful? And then she formulates the test questions from that, and then you go through a couple practice runs to make sure that you're charting okay. Or say, for example, you know, even if I were to sit in the chair and be a little bit nervous, she'll say, are the lights on? Yes. Kind of to bring your levels back down. But again, she'll go over that all in technical terms and explain it way better than I can. And then she'll run the test, that is the small portion of it. She normally has to run a couple tests to make sure that each chart is reflective of the other chart, that she's not getting abnormal readings or anything like that. And then you'll know right then, which you're sitting across from me today, you should know what the answer is going to be, right? You should know what the answer is going to be, that, hey, it's showing that he's honest.
Oh, yeah,
right?
I'm sorry, right.
Yeah, so there should be a question in your mind of what the outcome should be. Yep. And then I'll be available here too, because obviously it's my investigation. So we would meet afterwards. Well, basically when you show up, I'd come get you again. I'd walk you down and introduce you to her. She runs the test. I'm here throughout the whole thing though. And then after the test, I would meet with you again. And again, you know, you're saying, hey, here's what I did. Again, from what I'm seeing,
right.
You know, it seems like that's the case. And then,
but it just frustrates me that like I said,
but it affects you in a whole nother capacity.
Yeah. That's the whole thing. It's like this. It's whatever it takes. You know, let's get through it. But I just want to get through it because I got to figure out how to make amends. You know what I mean? It's like, how do you change your life? You know what I mean? So that you don't have this ever happen again. You know what I mean? And I've got to take it out of my hands. You know, and that's where it's, you know, it's going to cost money, and that's the way it is. You know, and that's just tough. You know, but it's worth it to have someone else in the room, and that's, you know, as I keep talking, as we're talking, you know, that's the one thing. That's the one thing that we wouldn't even be here right now. I think if that person didn't, because that's what you said is when that person left the room is when she had that change of thought, and that's if that other patient would have been late, if you know, there's so many, like if that patient would have been late, if there was no other patient, you know, then if it was the last patient of the day or whatever, you know what I mean, if that person went to left the room, we wouldn't be here right now, you know.
Right, or we may just have to go talk to that person that would say, yep, hey, here's what I saw, right? So that's that would be quick and easy for us. And unfortunately, that's not where we're at. And so, you know, because it sounds everything she's concerned about obviously happened after that person left.
Right, yeah. Like I said, I wouldn't know, you know what I mean? Because I don't remember when the person left or what have you. I know that the person would have left, and if you said about 3/4 through, so my appointments are long, that makes sense. Because, you know, if the other person just came into the room, they've been in the room 40 minutes or half an hour or whatever, you know what I mean? That makes sense, that they would have been going to see another patient.
Okay.
You know, so that makes sense. You know what I mean? So that would make sense. So okay. So I am, whatever you need done, just let me know. Okay, you
well, I appreciate you coming in here. I didn't expect you to be like, I'm coming right now, so I appreciate that.
Yeah,
That's extremely helpful.
Yeah, no, it's the sooner. This has been in a way therapeutic for me too. Okay, it's like I got a chance to purge. You know what I mean? So, thank you. For that. It was nice to be able to purge, to let it out. Okay, so that helps. Okay, so I do appreciate.
Yeah, no, and I appreciate, like I said, I know a couple of times you're like, hey, I'm talking too much. We want you to talk a lot, okay? Because the more information we have, the more we have to work with.
Okay.
And so that's helpful. And again, so as you move forward, no details too small. So if you do think of anything.
Yeah, that's going to be that's when every time you say that, I start going back in my head. Okay, stop saying that. I just feel like I'm replaying.
But that's the way to help yourself.
Okay.
So that is the way to help yourself, is to remember any detail. And again, I know you see a lot of patients, and I know we're a few weeks out from.
Yeah, but what I don't want to do is convince myself of some. I don't want to convince myself.
Right, and I wouldn't want you to do that either.
Like, oh yeah, well I remember.
No, by no means,
right. You know what I mean?
I wouldn't want you to do that either.
I don't want to start, distorting the memory in a sense. You know what I mean? So that what is she looking for? What are her detail? What am I missing?
Yeah, no, I would not want you to do that at all. And if you don't remember, hey, you don't remember.
Right. I don't want it to be used against me because I can't remember. But at the same time, I'm like. I know I talk to my patients. I know I explain things. It's irrelevant what I know. It's her perception of what she heard. Now, if I said, even if I remembered saying specifically X, Y, Z, if she heard A, B, C, then does it really matter that I said X, Y, Z?
Right, which is true.
I'm saying? Okay, that's why I'm like.
That's true in our profession too.
Yeah, that's why I'm like, okay, she didn't get it. She didn't get it. Okay, and that's the issue. She didn't get it. Okay, and for whatever reason, whether I was distracted, it could have just as been as easy as that. I could have been distracted and thought I had explained things. You know what I mean? So that's what I'm saying.
Which is a perfectly plausible explanation.
That's it. So I don't want to hallucinate and start.
Yeah, and I wouldn't want you to do that either.
Reconstruct the thing, you know what I mean? So, but if something does come to me, I'll tell you, of course, okay? But I'm trying hard, okay? So.
Yeah, no, I appreciate you coming in here, especially I called you up and you came right in, so that's greatly appreciated. You obviously got a couple different processes you're dealing with. Your employment process, this process. The university's process, so it's a lot to have to deal with.
Yeah, so thank you, though, for your time. Thank you for being you. You were good. It was comfortable to talk to you. You know what I mean? So I appreciate that. Okay.
Thanks. So as soon as you can, that would be your first piece of homework. Send me those videos.
Yes.
I'm going to leave for the evening after this.
Yeah.
So if you don't get to it till
I'll get to it
later tonight or sometime tomorrow, that's fine.
Think of anything more important?
That's right. So as long as I can have them, by some point tomorrow, that would be great.
Okay. And there should be the other videos that I was trying to find, and the other videos that I was trying to find, and I think there was another PowerPoint I was trying to find, so, but yeah, so that's what, Dr. Kovan has a link to the Dropbox, and so does Dr. Dean has a link to the Dropbox, and so does Tom Cooper have a link to the Dropbox, because I'm like, guys, you all know what I do. Tom Cooper, he's more administrative, so that's what made it. It was for Tom. I put the Dropbox together mainly for Tom. Okay, because he's like the person in charge of the department. So he would have no real clue. So that's why I wanted to put that together and say, okay, Tom, this is what I do, because he's not a medical person. He's actually a lawyer that works with, he was like our interim department director when Dr. Pochin left, so he became the interim, and now we have another, Dr. Mukherjee is the new department director, so now he's stepped down again as the associate head. But Tom's the person that really oversees our clinic. Okay, so that's why I put that together, was for his knowledge, because he's not medical.
Which is exactly why it's helpful for me.
Yeah, okay.
You know?
Okay.
So, I mean, for you to come in and explain it to me.
Do you want those emails?
I won't need the emails.
Okay. 'Cause it's my explanation to him, to Tom and stuff, you know, if...
So did you write, so you wrote an explanation to them of what you did?
Yeah.
That would, okay, so that would be helpful.
Would
if
be
you
helpful?
have a copy of those, you can just email those to me.
Yeah, it should have it's just one email. It's like, here's the Dropbox link and here's
Okay, yeah, so that would be helpful then.
Okay, yeah, because it should explain it, I think. I don't know, it's a long email, but I'll send it to you.
No, that'd be very helpful.
Okay. So anything, is there anything else?
Nope, I don't think so. Just send me those videos, and then I will call you tomorrow to let you know whether we can do the polygraph or not do the polygraph.
Would she need to see this stuff at all? Do I need to bring this back?
No, she will have access to my whole written report.
Oh, and she'd have access to the Dropbox for you if there's anything.
And then she will go over that report with you in detail to make sure that there's no misunderstandings as to what I may have wrote or what you may have said. So that way she can appropriately, just so that way she can appropriately run the test, right? Because she doesn't want to, the reason why she goes over the whole report with you is, say for example, I misquoted you, or I incorrectly wrote something in the report, and she were to test you based off that, we don't want that to happen. So we want to make sure that what I have wrote is what you have said, so that way she can test you correctly, because she is not involved in my investigation at all. Her only involvement is to run the test for me. So she will have no part of this investigation in any other way, shape, or form. It's for her to run
Technician.
Yes.
Technician. Okay.
For her to run that test for me, and then for her to say, hey, honest or dishonest, okay?
Right.
And then we'll go from there. And then, like I said, I've got a couple people that I got to talk to anyways. And again, hopefully we will have this all wrapped up and good to go by the time we leave on vacation.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, I appreciate you coming in. And you have my contact information, so if you need anything, again, I'm going to leave here probably in about a half hour. I do get email, though, obviously, to my mobile devices. So if there's something that, you think, hey, I got this question or whatever, a concern, I do get that, and I check that even outside of work. So.
All right. Well, thank you.
Thanks for coming in.
Okay.